Hello everyone, welcome to Mahamaran Academy. Yesterday we have discussed the content of your CUET syllabus, and today we are starting with this chapter, nation building, right? And we will be covering the partition and the things which is basically the context of nation integration, right? So the first, when we are saying the nation building, what is nation building? I want to give you one example. Like suppose, for example, you are in a prison, you are in a jail, or you are suddenly getting a relief from there, right? So that does not does not give you surety that immediately after getting release from the jail, you will have an awesome life. What you have to do is that you have to start from the very initials. Similarly, in this case, we were in the grip of colonial people, right? We were in the grip of colonial rule, and now we are getting independence, right? So this is the process that where we have to start from the very beginning. We have to build that entire nation they have left for us, right? So this is the very beginning. So nation building is the very beginning, making your nation. So it is about making sure that the every people in this country, their aspirations are getting covered, right? So that is the process. This nation building is about is a process from the zero, right? Where you have got the independence, and now you have to ensure that how to make sure that the people have development, people are having people are having their the system, the democracy, where they have the chance to say what they want, and also to make sure that the nations, and there is a unity in the nations. So to ensure that unity in the nation, the drawing a boundary or to integrate nation is very important. Right. So nation building is basically a process. And what kind of process it is? When we are saying the process, nation building is not only a process, it is a democratic process. It's a democratic way of making your nation. Right. And then if you in Jawaharlal Nehru's word, what he has said, that it is about finding yourself. Right. Finding yourself, because you are just getting independence, and now you have to find where you stand and where you have to go, right? So if you notice this tryst with destiny, it is very important question. They sometimes ask you a question about it. It is a midnight speech given by Jawaharlal Nehru, and in this speech he has mentioned that how it is a process of finding yourself, right? So basically what they will ask in MCQs is, what is tryst with destiny? It is a speech delivered by Jawaharlal Nehru on when? So on 14th August, on the eve of independence. So basically what Jawaharlal Nehru is saying, that it is a process of finding yourself, right? And then if you see, they have in your NCERT syllabus, if you will notice, they are specifically saying that what was the role of Nehru. So if you see what was the goal of Nehru, here it is specified that the goal of Nehru was very clear. It should be a democratic government. Democratic government means the aspiration of everyone is having a say, right? So the everyone having their contribution and the participation in the nation building. So democratic ways that aspirations of everyone is getting covered. And then the second one is good for all, means the welfare policies. So basically it just for your understanding, it's I don't think they will ask, but if you will notice in your class 11 syllabus in constitution or somewhere, you will find that there is two category: fundamental rights and the DPSP, right? So what is fundamental rights? Fundamental rights are very fundamental in nature, that if these are not getting fulfilled, you can go to the court, right? So this is basically about your rights. And if you relate, the democracy is also about that your rights should be ensured. Your aspirations are, having a say in the democracy, in the political system. And the DPSP is about the development. So DPSP is from, Article 36 to 51. You will notice that it is left to the state to ensure the welfare of all. Welfare of all means including the weaker section of society. So DPSP is Directive Principle of State Policy. So it is a directive given to the state to ensure the welfare of all. So basically, if you see the constitution and the goal of Nehru, it is very specified that he is going to, that he is somehow relating it to the fundamental rights and DPSP. I am telling you so that you will easily remember what was the goal of, or what Nehru wanted to have a vision of this nation, right? So these two goals. So today we are discussing the partition, violence, and the trauma of displacement. Trauma of displacement, basically, if you see, we got independence on 15th of August, right? On the midnight of 14th, you can say. So the Pakistan is celebrating their independence on 14th, and we are 15, right? So if you see, before independence, we were these two nations were one nation, right? And suddenly at the time of independence, when we are going through a process that we have to develop our nation, something very bad happened to us, that partition happened. India and Pakistan, two nations got independence, not just one, right? So that was but that was not the problem. Partition was not the problem. The problem was the violence. The violence in the sense that the Hindu majority people are killing the Muslim minorities, and the Muslim majority people are killing the Hindu minorities. So that killing was problem, right? Those violence are problem, and the trauma of displacement. At the time of independence, on the 14th of August, in the midnight of 14th of August, maximum people were not aware that whether they are in India or in Pakistan. Because that boundary, that boundaries, I will show you, this boundary was made that was purely administrative nature. Here you can see that here is Pakistan, East Pakistan, West Pakistan, and India is in the middle of this, right? So this is basically administrative nature. People were not aware of this, and that's why this trauma of displacement, right? So this was the problem of partition, violence, and the trauma of displacement. Now coming to the challenges of the process of nation building, there were basically three problems when we got independence. The first one, how to integrate integrate the nations. This problem, the integration problem, was so severe, and why it was an issue, because we were gone through the problem of partition. We have already divided our nation on the basis of religion, right? And now the people were demanding dividing the states on the basis of language, right? If you see the Madras protest and kind of, so you will notice that the people are demanding to divide the states on the basis of language. So that was the fear in the minds of the makers of the India. So that's why the integration was a problem. One problem is the fresh memory of partition, and the other problem is that when British colonial have gave us the independence, they also specified the things that the princely state they have given the choice to the princely state, to the princely states, that they can either join India. They had three options, right? First option is they can join India. Second option is they can join Pakistan. The third option is they can remain independent, right? So if you see, the first problem is about the memory of partition, how to divide on the basis of language, and the second problem is about the princely states. So if you notice, there is a two category during the colonial period. One is a British province, right? British province, and the other one is a princely states, right? So British province is altogether divided in either India and Pakistan, but princely state were given the choice. They were given the choice that they can join India, or they can join Pakistan, or they can remain independent. So that became the other problem of achieving the integration. It was very difficult to to integrate nation and to ensure unity, and that's why it was a very big problem. And this we are discussing in this chapter. So here we have the second problem, that is to ensure democracy. And if you remember the very famous slogan of Abraham Lincoln, that democracy is for the people, by the people, and of the people. So democracy is all about how to ensure that citizens do not feel isolated, right? They have their say in the decision making, right? Whatever their aspirations should be taken care when the decision makers are making decisions. So democracy is all about how to ensure that the right and aspirations of people are getting fulfilled, right? So the second question, the democracy was a challenge, is because if you see the population, India is having a vast population, right? So if you have a vast population and also the majority of people were illiterate, so how to ensure that they elect their representatives, right? So basically what happened when people are illiterate and people are in a large number of people are there. So basically the decision makers, or basically the policy makers, rely on the autocratic way. Autocratic way means that they are making all the decisions and people have no say in that. But we were very clear that we are going to adopt democratic way. So adopting a democratic way was one decision, but implementing on the ground was another thing. And that was the second challenge we will be discussing in the second chapter, the era of one party dominance. That how the one party is getting the votes every time, and they are having their larger dominance in the society. So that we will be discussing. And for now you just have to understand what were that major three problems. So first one was about integration, and the second one is about how to ensure that the people have their participation and their rights and aspirations are getting fulfilled. And the third one is about development of all. In the last chapter, or in the yesterday, we have discussed, while discussing the contents, that development is basically related to the DPSP. How how to ensure that at the local level the welfare of all are getting fulfilled, right? The development is not about getting aspiration fulfilled. It's about the opportunities, right? Whether they are getting the opportunities, and how to ensure that opportunities by providing them resources, right? Resources. What kind of resources? They can be given first resources, food. If they don't have food, they can't do anything. Health, education, right? And so on. So this resources ensures that people can have opportunities, right? If you don't have a health, if you don't have a food, if you don't have an education, you can't even compete with others. So ensuring development, and especially the weaker section of society, because they are basically in the very last, or very in that position that they need support to get uplift, right? They cannot do it independently. So that's why ensuring that welfare. Okay. So basically we have discussed the three problems what emerged after independence, right? And now we will discuss that what we are going to discuss in this chapter. So basically we are discussing the issue of national unity and security, right? Why national unity was problem? Because there was number of state and we have to integrate them, and also we had a trauma of partition. And then the security is because now we have to ensure in the upcoming future that the people are secure and they are having a basically, before starting anything, I would first like to clarify, there is a two term, civics and political science, right? And in the very local level, or in the very lower level, you might have heard about the civics, and now you are reading political science, right? So what is the basic difference? So basic difference is, when you are saying the civics, You are looking the things, your lenses has changed. You are looking the things from the people's perspective. Their rights should be ensured. They should follow the rules of law. Right? So from when we are seeing the things from the people's perspective, that is a civics. Right? But political science is also about how the policy makers, constituent members, constituent makers, or and so on, are making decisions, and how, it's a broad way. It's a broad dimension, right? It includes how the policy makers are making decisions and how it is affecting the peoples. So if you notice in this syllabus, we are reading political science because we are also seeing the context of that decisions, right? We are saying the party politics. We are seeing how, the decisions are being made. So when we are having this broad outlook, then we are reading the political science, and that's why in the lower level we usually call it civics, but it's all about having a broad perspective, and that's why the here is the political science. So if you see the national unity and security, it is ensuring that people have security. Security in the sense, security is everything. Their aspiration got fulfilled. They are not. They have opportunities. Security. If you will read, we will be reading security in your world politics. Then we will realize that security is multidimensional. Right, it's not only about having your prevention. It's a prevention from the war. It's also about positive security, right? To ensure that the people have a security that of resources, people have a security of opportunities, and here we are dealing that kind of security, that security of opportunities. We are having we are getting a country where we have to start from the initials, and now we have to secure that everyone are getting their rights and aspiration get fulfilled, right? So we are here basically talking about the positive security. I'm telling you all this from the understanding perspective so that you can understand things clearly, but I suggest you to see and read your NCERT again and again, right? Many times possible. So what happened will after that you will be very clear about the facts, right? So the more you will read NCERT, the more you will be confident, right? So keep reading NCERT. Come to the class once you have read that chapter, and after seeing this class or after watching this class, go and read your NCERT again. And in the revision process also, read your NCERT again and be very clear where is the fact, right? Like for example, in the first chapter you will realize, in the first slide you will realize there was a tryst with destiny. They can ask a question. It's a fact-based question. And then the 2 goals of Nehru, right? So these are very important facts that you have to be very aware of that, right? And you can see that here also come the facts, right? So basically, people, you might have a question, that how the partition happened. So partition not happened suddenly. There is a series of events that happened. So here we are basically discussing the series of events. So what happened? First of all, the Muslim League was formed, right? It was formed on 30 December 1906. I'm teaching you the from the understanding level, but I also suggest you to learn these facts, right? Because they ask direct questions in the MCQs. So the first event to the final culmination point of partition was the formation of Muslim League. Okay. And then the word Pakistan was formed by the Rahmat Ali Khan. Right. And then the demand raised for the separate nation. Right. And then Aga Khan became the first Muslim League president. So, this is the events, how the partition happened. And then the Muhammad League Ali Jinnah, he is a very famous person when we are discussing or when we are talking about the Muslim League and formation of Pakistan, right? he played a major role in that process, right? So when he joined the Muslim League, it was the kind of culmination point to finally make it happen, make the partition happen, right? And he given the word. If you can see, if I'm covering the slide, then you can see now two nation theory. So what he coined is the two nation theory. What is two nation theory? Two nation theory means in that we are getting independence, but not just one, but two nation. Two nation theory is given by Ali Jinnah. They can ask direct question, and for your understanding, you can understand the two nation theory is India and Pakistan, two separate nations are getting independence from the colonial grip, right? And somehow colonial people also supported them, because they were also following that divide and rule wala policy. So that's why they have supported them, and finally they made a Pakistan. So this was the event, right? This is the event how partition happened, or how Pakistan formed, right? And you can see that on the eve of independence, not one. So this is the final implementation of two nation theory, that not one but two nation, right? Two nation got independence, right? So here is the next slide. You can see that what happened, what problem arose when we have divided the country on the religion basis, right? So here you can see the first complexity is that you can see the two parts, right? This and this. So basically the Pakistan is divided into two parts. On one hand is the East Pakistan and the West Pakistan, and somehow India is trapped in between, right? So if you see from the perspective of administrative convenience for the Pakistan, it is very difficult to run. Why? Because here is the center of the Pakistan, right? But how they will manage this area, right? So if you see from the administrative convenience, it is very difficult for the Pakistan to run the administration, right? So that's why the first point is no single belt of Muslim majority, and they got they have decided that this is the Muslim majority, this is the Muslim majority. But now when they divided in such a way that you can see that the complexities happened, that the administrative become very difficult. And second thing, you can see that they have decided that this is the Muslim area, this is the Muslim area, this is the Hindu area, but it was not true on the basis of on the practical things, right? What happened is even in this Muslim region, right, what they declared as a Muslim region, some Hindus were there in that region, and here also some Hindus were there in the region, and in the Hindu region, right, Hindu region, there was also some Muslims, right? So this was also the problem, that some non-Muslims were there in the Muslim region, right? And then the second thing, you can see that not all people wanted to have the partition, right? So from our side, we can see that the Gandhiji was against this violence and partition, and one other person, he was he was the Muslim, and his name was Abdul Ghaffar Khan. He was also against the partition, right? He basically known as a frontier Gandhi, and he was also not wanted to separate the country into two regions, right? And then we have discussed the violence, because we have seen that how the Muslim regions some Hindus were left, and then the Hindu regions some Muslims. So the minorities, they were stuck at some places, so they faced the problem, and this became the complexity after dividing the religion basis the country, right? Okay, so this is the why I mentioned this is because I want to show you that how the very minor thing which we don't care happened that time, and by these facts you can understand the severity of that violence, right? You can see killing and atrocities happened both sides, right? And this question they probably ask every time, so please remember this Communal Jones, right? They ask this question, and then the people from both the side, they were forced to live in a refugee camps because of that violence, and they were forced to flee from the places from where they have lived from the generation. So they have basically, abandoned their property, their home, and they were living in the refugee camps, right? And local administration and police were also very silent. It was very sudden that the making arrangements was not possible that time. And that's why democracy become very goal of our country. And the basic problem is for the women. Women from both the side, they faced severity of violence, greater violent than the man faced. Why? Because they were abducted, they were killed. In fact, the honor killing also happened, right? The family, in order to protect their dignity, they also killed their own daughter. So this kind of violence happened, right? And then the life in refugee camps. And then you can see from the the writings of poets and filmmakers, they would have expressed that ruthless killings, right? So that how if you maybe it's not a out of world thing. If you are watching movies and poems, you will realize that the writers, poets, they have mentioned the atrocities of the phase of that violence, and it was full of pain, it was full of suffering, right? And that I was mentioning, that the minor thing which we don't care. What happened, when you are living with someone, so you don't care about the minor things. So India and Pakistan was living together. It was one nation earlier partition. But at time of independence, the small liabilities like pen, papers, that also got divided between these two countries. You can see the table, chair, paper clips, books, etc. Right? And the last line, you can see, it is very important, right? If you see in your class 11th chapter, if you have heard about the Constituent Assembly and the kind of when the cabinet mission plan, you have heard about that they have made a particular Constituent Assembly. They were making the constitution for the India, right? So earlier, before the partition of India and Pakistan, what happened that the number of people in the Constituent Assembly was 389, right? And what happened after partition, because remaining people were from the Pakistan, they are now not the part of that Constituent Assembly. So that fall down to 299. Let me just clarify. Like for example, 389, right? And we have minus the people who are from the Pakistan, and now we have equal is 299, right? So the number of people in the Constituent Assembly, that also reduced from 389 to 299, and that is your facts based question. You have to learn this number, right? That was originally fixed in 1946, but that was fall down due to the reduction of those people who belongs to the Pakistan, right? And the same way, in the Indian province, it was if you see 389 is equals to 296 plus 93. 296 from the British province, from the Indian province, and 93 from the princely states, right? So from 296, it happened to 229, because the people from the Pakistan, they were lessed or they were minused from this, and here from 93 to 70, right? It's a fact based question, you have to learn, but if I'll tell you the context, then it will be easy for you to learn, and that's why I'm telling you it's a fact based question. You just have to understand this in this way, that originally like for example, I'm giving you one example only, right? Like for example, earlier 5 people were the part of Constituent Assembly, right? And now 3 from the British province, 2 from the princely states. It's just example. It's not 5, right? It's 389, right? Just don't get confused. I'm just giving you the example. And now what happened is 2 people are belonging to the Pakistan province. 2 people from the 5 people, they belong to the Pakistan. Now what happened after partition? The number of strength of Constituent Assembly become 3 only, right? 1 reduced from the princely state, 1 reduced from the British province. And now what we have? 2 from the British province, right? And 1 from the princely state. So this is the logic. It's just for understanding. You have to learn the fact, right? So as I was telling that, the violence happened, right? The Muslims, the 2-part, the India was, divided on whatever. So the 2 separation made, here the India and the Pakistan, right? So that does, so here is a basic question. It is given in NCERT and that's why I'm discussing it. Does it ensure that dividing a line on administrative basis also divided the people? No. Even after independence, after so many years, many of the Muslims are living in India and many of the Hindus are still living in Pakistan. So that was not the whatever we have decided, that the ultimate suddenly all Muslims will go to the Pakistan and all Hindus will come to the India, that was not implemented on ground, right? So it was not implemented. If you notice, 12% of Muslim were at that time and still living in India. At the time of partition also the 12%, and many generations are still living in India. So what was the solution? The solution was secularism, right? That we have discussed. The solution was secularism, to ensuring that every religion has an equal say, right? So but this partition happened, from the people point of view. If you notice, they have not, this partition have not benefited the people, right? Because people are still living in India, because Muslims are still living in India. So from the people's perspective, this was a failed attempt, right? So if it was a failed attempt, why it happened? What was the need, right? So it was basically the competition, right? Competition between 3 competing political group. Basically the competition for power. Everyone wants to be, wants to hold that power position. So it's a fact-based question. 3 competing group, maybe they can ask in MCQs also. So if it was not benefiting anyone, why it happened? It because of that competition, and that competition between 3 groups. Muslim League, right? They wanted to ensure that they feel insecure in India. They felt that their rights and their demands are not getting fulfilled while living in India. So that's why they wanted their separate nation. On the other hand, the Hindu hardcore, right? Those people who are very orthodox Hindu, right? So that people, they wanted the separate Hindu nation, that is India, right? And the liberal leaders, right? You can see that there is a 3 competing group, and everyone having their own perspective on the partition. So they wanted a separate Pakistan, they wanted separate India with Hindu majority, but there was some people, liberal leaders, who are not favoring the partition. Nehru, Mahatma Gandhi, right? And on the other side you can see the frontier Gandhi, right? But what happened is, what happened is that the majority, their demand get fulfilled and they were sidelined. These people who wanted a liberal approach, who wanted India Pakistan together, their demand was sidelined, and I have given you already the reason is because of the support of the colonial people, right? Before going and before giving us the independence, they have already partitioned the two our nation in two parts, right? So in this way, this partition happened. So if you can see, the it has not benefited anyone but the colonial people, right? Okay, so role of Gandhiji. We will be discussing role of Gandhiji, and then we I will conclude this. The remaining part of integration of princely state we will be discussing in next chapter. Today we will end this discussion with the role of Gandhiji in reducing violence. Gandhiji was not in a favor of making another Pakistan, right? He was not in a favor of dividing a nation, right? So his approach was very simple. He was a believer of non-violence. He was believer of satyagraha. So it's very obvious that his contribution was very important, right? So that's why we are looking his contribution here. So it is also fact-based question. You don't have to be very worry about it. You just have to understand that he was not in a favor of partition. He was a propounder, or he was a supporter of non-violence, satyagraha, and that's why and he was also, if you notice, he was a very popular figure, right? So his mere presence at some places, avoided the violent act, right? So because he was very popular and he had made some contribution of bringing people together, that's why his mere presence at some places made it happen that violence to some extent get lessened, right? And he was supporting the ahimsa, satyagraha, right? And what happened is, if you notice that he also went to the Delhi, right? And he went to the fast. He undertook the fast also to avoid that violence. But something very unfortunate happened, and that unfortunate was the assassination or the killing of Mahatma Gandhi, and that was done by the hardcore Hindu leader, that was Nathuram Vinayak Godse. So that is a fact-based question. You just have to understand that if he would have alive, then maybe he would have made some changes, but because he was killed at that point, so his contribution was just not happen to that level what we have expected, right? So this was all about the partition, and next we will be discussing the integration of princely state. We will be discussing what difficulties we have faced while integrating the different princely states after the independence, right? Thank you.